Can y'all believe that 6 months of the year has come and gone? Where did 2024 have to go? Mama said, either y'all hitch your ride, girl, or don't. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Shelby and the Book Club. I'm Shelby Monet, and as you can see by the title of this video, we're doing a mid-year tag. I cannot believe that we are at the midpoint of 2024. It has been a long year for me, as y'all know, but let's get into the reading stats so far of the year and talk about some of my favorites, what I've read, what I haven't read, what I still need to read for the year. So if you would like to hear it, here it go. Before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It will help me out a lot. And if you want any of these books, you can support me by shopping my Amazon storefront or my Libro FM. Whichever one appeases you, you can do that and it'll support me. It'll support this channel. It'll make it easy for me to continue to make these videos for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it for real this time. Okay. I got my handy dandy iPad here just so that I can like see the questions. And because I do want to start off with some stats. Some of these books I do have physical copies of. Some of them I listened to or read the digital copies of. So I will be either holding up a book or putting things on the screen. All those failed, everything will be linked down below in the underneath bar if y'all need it. So, stats. My goal for the year is 100 books. So far, I have read 61 books, which I feel like is not bad for a girl that had open heart surgery. Clap for me. Clap, 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 clap for me. I do want y'all to know, I need y'all to be very confident that I very much was like, can y'all play an audiobook while we doing the surgery? Because I have goals to I have goals to reach. I have things to do. I mean, y'all got to fix my heart, but baby, turn that audiobook up while y'all in there at it. Let's see. Okay, format. 28% is print, so physical copies, 20% is audio, and 52% of what I've read so far this year has been digital. When I tell you that getting this iPad to read has changed how I read, how fast I read, right? I'm always trying to better my reading skills and my comprehension skills, which is why I set goals, which is why I have particular things and such that I want to read. Goals that I want to reach and things that I want to do. It's for me personally. How many of these books is romance? 33 of them are romance. Next we have 10 of them are historical fiction and 10 of them are erotica. We're not going to talk about that. I am an adult. And 7 of them are literary. You guys know I read a lot of lit fic. Romance just has been that new girl in my life, as well as erotica. I have read some spicy things. If y'all want a video about my favorite spicy books, oh my mama's go watch this. Just let me know. I will tell y'all who my favorite fictional men in my life are currently, because they are very, very great. So now let's get into the big year tag. The first question is best book you've read so far in 2024. Jesus Christ, 2024. These two books, the first one that I'm gonna hold up, y'all should already know, James by Percival Everett. This is a phenomenal book. A couple of things that I want to say that this is one of those books that if you get it, you get it. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you're not going to get it. Excuse me. The things that Percival Everett does with language in this book, excuse me. Oh my goodness. The way that he has taken a story and made it better. Okay, the way that you can tell how well read of an author he is. Now, I would say read this with a friend, right? Because you're going to need to bounce ideas and thoughts off of it, because it moves kind of fast. There's so much happening. There's so many things to think about. You are going to need to bounce this off of someone. The friend that I have that I wish we would have read it together, and maybe we can do a reread together, is Sarah. I've talked about Sarah before. As the days go on, she is amazing, and I need to figure out how to move into the house directly next door to hers, so that we can share books and recipes and all of the things. I love talking to her about books. But outside of her, like, my other close book friend is Jess. Jess has not read this yet. I don't think Lacey of Brooklyn Book Bell would enjoy this. I think anyway, what I'm saying is Sarah read this right after I read it, and we talked about it, and she's making me want to reread it. It's making me want, like, I don't even really know that I could love this book more than I already do. I really would love to sit down and talk to Percival Everett and pick his brain. Great, phenomenal read. Next, The Blueprint by Gianna Rashad. When I tell you, if I ever am blessed enough to meet this woman, I'm going to hug her so tight. I don't understand why more people are not talking about the brilliance that is this book. From the writing style, to the story that is told, to how you really think that this is a story about race, when it's really a story about womanhood, Black womanhood, and how we are not as far removed from our ancestors as we think we are. This is an ode to Toni Morrison, to Zora Neale Hurston, to Audre Lorde. I think about this book all the time. As I'm reading other things, this book pops into my head because there are so many things that we could learn. It almost makes me want to go back to school so that I can become a professor, so that I can drill this book into the brains of our youth. Go read The Blueprint. I don't care that it's going to make you uncomfortable. I don't care that it is going to make you face what the world looks like outside. There are things in this book that you need. You need to be uncomfortable. Read the damn book. If this is her debut, what else is this woman going to give us? My God, today, a phenomenal book. Okay. Question number 2, best sequel you've read so far. So I read Somebody's Wife by Robbie Renee, and the sequel to that is called Somebody's Forever, and I absolutely loved both stories. It does touch on a bit of infidelity. If you're uncomfortable with that, please do not read it, and please don't tell me about how you don't want to read. Baby, let me tell you something. Robbie Renee, I will be working through the rest of your backlist this year, because the spice was spicing. I loved the entirety of both stories. And the reason that I loved the sequel so much was because it was just as spicy as the first one, right? Sometimes we get these sequels, especially to romance, and it's like, you could have just left the stuff in my head. You could have left it in my head. You could have left me alone. But you didn't. You wrote a second one, and I read it, and it wasn't as good as the first one. Stop bothering me, okay? Number 3, a new release that I have not read yet. There are so many, but what comes to mind is Little Rot by Akwaeke Emezi. As I'm filming this, it comes out on Tuesday. When y'all see it, it's already out, okay? I cannot wait to read Little Rot. I am such a fan of Akwaeke Emezi. If you haven't read any of their books, you should. They are an author that shapeshifts. They can write anything, and I think that is amazing. There are no 2 books that they wrote that are the same, and that is what I love about them. I cannot wait to read Little Rot. I'm so excited. Number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So many, and I put myself on a book buying ban. A few that I can say, one is Masquerade. I'm not going to butcher the author's name, but That looks very good. And I think I talked about that in the beginning of the year in my 2024 releases video. Also, Ta-Nehisi Coates has a new nonfiction coming out called let's look that up while I'm here. I want to say it's called The Member. Ta-Nehisi Coates. It was just announced. I want to say last week. And I know Jess and I will be reading that together. The Message is what it's called. The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. It comes out October 1st under Penguin Random House. So it says he originally set out to write a book about writing in the tradition of Orwell's classic Politics in the English Language, but found himself grappling with the deeper questions about how our stories, our reporting and imaginative narratives, and the myth-making expose and distort our realities. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. I'm reading it. My number 5, my biggest disappointment. The Personal Librarian. Actually, I have 2. Oh, y'all ain't gonna like this. Y'all ain't gonna like this. The Personal Librarian. I have an issue with books that are written by 2 authors, and I don't really know how to pinpoint why I have an issue with it, especially when it's on topics like this where the main character is passing. It is based on her real life. So it was a little weird. I DNF'd this. The reason that I DNF'd it is because it just got to a point where it was becoming messy, whereas like I wanted to know more about Belle's work life. This gave you a lot of her personal life, and it was becoming like very gossipy, and I just wasn't with it. Like I was just like, all right already. I do have another book by a different author that is about Belle DeCosta Green that may be more my speed. Okay, but this, very big disappointment. Another one. This is a book that y'all rave about. And before I even show y'all this book, I need y'all to understand that as someone that used to solely read historical fiction, I understand why y'all love this book. I need y'all to also understand that there are like levels to reading, and where you are in your reading journey, with whether it be how much you read, the type of books you read, or the introduction to a genre, and where I am in that genre or in my reading life are 2 completely different things. So what you may love has a lot to do with where you are in your reading, versus what I don't like has a lot to do with where I am in my reading. Okay? Calm down, because y'all love this book. Baby, when I say I all but threw this in the garbage, I love historical fiction. That was harsh. I shouldn't have said that I all but threw it in the garbage, but it did piss me off real bad. I love historical fiction. I even more love when we get to see the direct effects of generational trauma, and how things that weren't healed in a previous generation kind of haunt the generation before us. My issue is this book could have ended 90 pages sooner than it did. We got this repetitive story from all of these generations, and once we got to the one generation, like the one person that was actually kind of learning the lesson, then it continued to go on. And granted, I understand that that's realistic, but how many different ways are we going to tell the same story in each chapter? Now, again, If this was your introduction to historical fiction, I totally understand why you loved it. I totally understand why you loved it. I can totally see the vision. You're not wrong. Me, having read a lot of historical fiction, this was not for me. Do I think that it was a good debut? Yes. This was her first book. Yes. I will not be reading anything else by Yaa Gyasi. Not anytime soon, at least. Because I should have read this when I first started reading again, and I would have been able to appreciate it the way that y'all appreciate it. Where I'm at right now, not at all. No. Like, no. No. I don't understand. I don't. And I think a lot of people feel that way about that book based on the things that like the conversations that I've had with people. And y'all are just not saying it because there is this thing about really saying how you feel because, oh, we have to be nice to the authors and we have to whatever. Being nice to the author is telling the author the truth. That's what being nice to the author is. Next question is the biggest surprise of the year. Evil Eye by Etaf Rum. If you are a part of my book club, shameless plug, this is the book that we read in May. Now, I picked this book because I absolutely love A Woman Is No Man by Etaf Rum. It was her first book. Absolutely love that book. One of my favorites. I still recommend it to this day. Excuse me. Phenomenal. When I first started reading this book, I was like, oh, baby, I'm going to DNF it. And I try not to DNF books that are book club picks because I feel like I still need to be able to talk about the journey reading it, right? So I didn't. I pushed through. And it's one of those books similar to the conversation that I had with books falling, The American Daughters, right? When I talked about this book, this is one of those books that you don't realize how well this book is written until you get to the end. A lot of the things that I was feeling that were making me want to DNF this, I was uncomfortable because the main character is depressed and she was sad and it was making me sad. And I wanted that gal to shut up sometimes. I wanted to shake her. Like all of those things, as I got to the end and started to feel relief, I realized that I was supposed to be feeling that way. It's an ode to how well Etaf Rum wrote this book. So The American Daughters and Evil Eye are both my biggest surprises so far this year because I would have DNF'd them had I not stuck through and really just was like, okay, it's fine. We're going to try it. We're going to keep going. I would have missed out on the bigger picture. Okay? So the next three questions were very hard for me to answer. I need y'all to understand that. So number 7 is favorite new author, whether it be debut or new to you. Masterpiece. She wrote Bow Down. When I tell you, the man in that book is the best depiction of a dom submissive relationship that I've seen in a while. Other than the things that Christina C. Jones writes, Christina C. Jones she writes dom submissive BDSM things very well. Samir, oh, he lives rent-free in my mind. I want him for myself. Okay, so masterpiece. Danielle Allen, who wrote Curvy Girl Summer, which is, again, y'all go, these next questions, they all go together. Percival Everett, right? It was my first time reading Percival Everett this year. Rajiana Rashad, Donovan X. Ramsey, When Crack Was King. Like, there are so many things, so many favorite new authors. People that are like added to my must buy list. So many. New fictional crush. I want to say Samir. But we're going to save him for the next question. New fictional crush, Ahmad from Curvy Girl Summer. Oh, I loved him so much. Oh my God, he was so good. He was so good. He was just so good. He was perfect. He was so perfect. Like, like, there is no man like the one written by a black woman. There is none. Elijah from Roomy Lover Friend. Dr. London from Finding My Bodyguard. Oh my God. And they all be tall, dark, handsome. And not dark like these color people be talking about, because they be saying dark and the whole time they just dark white. Anyway, I mean, like, okay, tall, handsome, they be having money and stuff, baby, and they be nasty too. Got to add that in there. Anyway, because my mom be watching. Next question, newest favorite character. It is Samir from Bow Down. I think like something that makes a character a new favorite is how often they kind of linger in my mind, right? I think about Samir all the time. I want to know how I can have him for myself. I like, he was perfect. The way that he was attuned to her, the way that he kept his own boundaries, right? Like, he was like, listen, you making me feel a way, you're making me want to act outside of my normal parameters with the way that I deal with women in this lifestyle, and I understand that, but we also are gonna stick to the rules, ma'am. You do these things or you don't, right? And I think so often we think that being with a man means that a man has to fold to only the things that we want, when really he has to consider himself also as well. And Samir was like, I want you bad, but that happens within these parameters, and these parameters are not only for me, they're going to benefit you too. Maybe he proved his point multiple times, I tell you that. Whew, made me sweat a little bit. It's a little hot. It's a little hot. Okay, a book that made you cry, Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams. Amazing debut. I will say, I hope to see a increase in his writing, right? Like a strengthening in his writing. I think there could be things that were better. That also could just come from a standpoint of, I rarely read YA. So his writing style may be A+ for YA. No tea, no shade. That book made me cry. I ain't even gonna go into any more details. You're gonna have to read it and then come back to me and tell me what part you think made me cry. But it made me cry. I was in here sniffling and snotting. Y'all know I don't be doing all that crying stuff. A book that made you happy. A few. A love song for Ricky Wilde. That is something that lives rent free in my head. I love the way that book was put together. I love the aspects of the magical realism. I love their relationship. I love that it was funny. In the same vein, I'll say, Curvy Girl Summer. It was funny. It kind of covered these topics of insecurity in plus size women. And what dating can be like after a certain age, and it just was, it had me in here kicking my feet and all of that. I've read a lot of romance this year that gave me that feeling where I was just kicking my feet and grinning and cheesing, just happy, just smiling. Most beautiful book you bought this year or received. The first one that comes to mind is The Lion Woman of Tehran. I think this is beautiful, and I also love that Marjan Kamali, all of her books, like, they look good together. I think that's very important. So this one, there are probably more, but I can't really think of them. Oh, here's one. Y'all know how I feel about covers with the colored people on it. Just beautimous. My people are so beautiful. I love this. I still need to read this. It's a big one, and that's bothering me. But y'all know how I do. I'll get to it eventually. And then last but certainly not least, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? So I just showed y'all ours. We're going to go through this list pretty quickly. Erasure. I want to get through a lot of Percival Everett's books before the end of the year. If not, I will make that a mission for next year. Then we have Daughter of the Merciful Deep by Leslie. I want to say Penelope so bad. Penelope. I read The Monsters We Defy. I want to read this very soon. Next, I got this in the mail from Astra House. It's called The Rent Collectors, Exploitation, Murder, and Redemption in Immigrant LA. It is a nonfiction. I am super excited to read this. I'll probably read this soon. I've been in the mood for another really good nonfiction. I'm currently listening to A Little Devil. I do not want to butcher Hanif's name, but I am listening to A Little Devil, and it's making me want to listen to more nonfiction. Next up, we have Martyr. I've heard very good things about this book. I believe this is lit fic. I'm excited, and I love this color. It's like simplistic, but it's pretty. And then last but certainly not least, I got this during Black History Month. I may leave this to read with just for our podcast. Wink, wink, wink. Neighbors and Other Stories by Diane Oliver. Diane is an author that passed away pretty young, and they just republished her book of short stories. I've never read anything by her. I hadn't even really heard of her before I got my hands on this book, so I do want to read that. Two others that I can show y'all real quick. The Ballad of Jacquet or Jacquat, I'm not sure. Della Hay. I will probably be reading this month. Like, that's probably next on my list. And then something that everyone has read but me, Chain Gang All-Stars. I've heard amazing things about this book. I want to read that very soon. So many books to read. No time. They need to figure out how to like inject books into my veins so that I can like read faster or something. My God, today. My God. And then I'm just coming off the heels of a reading slump too. My physical read right now is this one. So it has a bookmark in it. And it's pulled me in. I think I'm going to finish this pretty quickly. And hopefully this week will be better than last week. So, without further ado, thank you. If no one has told you today, you are kind, you are smart, you are important. If to no one else, to me. I love you. And happy reading. Let me know some of your favorite reads of this year. Don't forget to join the book club if you have not already. Links down below. And then the links to all of these books are also down below and underneath the bar. Bye, friends.